Welcome to DC Shorts International Film Festival 2020 edition. I'm Peter Morgan, the DC Shorts Executive Director. This is the Filmmaker Q&A for the LGBTQ Showcase. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to start off by thanking one of our major funders, the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. This year's film festival, which is now through Wednesday, September 23rd, has 163 short film screening from 34 countries in 20 showcases. So if you have not had a chance to go on to dcshorts.com, please do so, check it out, and buy some tickets. Joe Bilancio, take it away.
Thank you, Peter. As Peter said, I'm Joe Bilancio, Director of Programming. We're excited that you're joining us, either live or recorded, as this will live on in infamy. So Peter also mentioned that the films run through September 23rd, 20 showcases, 163 films, 34 countries. But he didn't mention that while we're focusing on our showcase, which is 8 LGBTQI+ programs, or films, there are other films not in this program. So if it's the LGBTQ content that you're interested in, you can always go to the website, dcshorts.com, and search by LGBTQ, and it helps you because there's, you know, little genres. So please do that because they're all wonderful. It's hard just to sort of find the films to showcase in that LGBTQ program because they're so unique and so varied. And so, you know, we'd love for you to see more of those and also take a chance and see other things as well. Even if you think it's only LGBTQ that you're interested in, you know, go beyond that. Also, after this, if you're listening live, we'll be doing a Q&A for the homegrown shorts, and that's at 8 o'clock. So again, we'd love to have you see everything we offer and let us know what you think. If you are listening, you can type a question to us that we can ask to our guests, who I'm so excited to introduce now. We have with us Carla Simón with the film If Then Else. Hey, Carla.
Hello.
Can you say a brief welcome and actually start by talking about the impetus of how you made the film and, you know, why this particular story was important for you to tell?
Yes. All right. So this was a commission actually from an association in Spain that they basically are a group of. It's an association that is a group of associations that deal with issues about HIV, basically, and I was asked to make this film just to let the young people know about HIV because they are not super informed about it, and this is an issue that it's very close to me because both of my parents died of AIDS when I was a kid. When I was 6, my mom died, and when I was like 3, my dad died. So, and in Spain, there was a moment where there were a lot of cases because of drugs, and it was just a period that really affected a lot in this country. It was probably like the country with more cases in Europe, and then to me it was very interesting to accept this proposal just to understand a little bit what it is HIV today and how people live with it, because I had studied a lot about like what it meant in my parents' time, and actually my first feature film talks a little bit about that and the moment when my parents died. So it was very interesting to take this and actually, you know, talk about with people who are living with HIV today and try to really think of a way to get young people to get informed, basically, because some young people think that this is kind of an old thing and it doesn't go with them, and it's pretty much a thing that affects everyone, basically. So that was a bit the aim of the film.
Oh, that's great. I look forward to dealing with some of those comments a little bit later. But now I'd like to introduce Azzan Quick from the film Translucent. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Joining us from Durham, North Carolina. Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about why your story.
So I actually made Translucent as a graduation project, if you will. I got a certificate in documentary arts at the Center for Documentary Studies at Duke. And yeah, it was a film that I wanted to make for a really long time because I was kind of going through trying to understand where I was on a vast spectrum of gender. So I think it was important for me to kind of document that to make sense of it. But I think the further along that I got in making it, I was like, well, maybe this could also serve as a tool for other people to kind of explain to people that they love kind of what they're going through in terms of understanding gender. Yeah, so yeah, that's why.
And you certainly did that. One of the things I found fascinating was sort of the confidence and this is who I am. And quite often that comes off as bravado or something where you don't really take other people's into consideration, but you seem to always think about, this is a difficult process for them too, and I'm going to help them along, even though I'm fine with who I am. And I found that fascinating. How is that to work with sort of this, you know, when everybody just wants to do, oh, can I do that on Zoom? Ooh, to do that. And, you know, you aren't doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, yes. I don't know. I think that was, I don't know. I think that's what made it easier for me, is to kind of exercise some compassion for them not knowing what they don't know, because there was a time when I didn't know what I know now. So yeah, that was important, and also because a lot of them were people that are close to me, so I thought it was important to show some grace for me, but not every trans person is obligated to do that by any means.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, and that's important to say that the trans stories, like the gay stories, the lesbian stories, everybody's different, and I appreciate that. Do you find that people like treated you differently after seeing the film, or did they maybe have a deeper understanding of you through the film?
Yeah, I think family's still tricky, but I think that the people, as far as friends and people that I know, and then people who may not have known but kind of know now, definitely have a better understanding of where I'm at, just through like being vulnerable and able to express myself to them. So yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and you were. That certainly came through in the film too. Your vulnerability. There are so many layers to you. I love it. Carla, you'd mentioned sort of the impetus of the project was that it was sort of given to you, but did you sort of learn anything through the process? Like, you know, that sort of that you didn't know, or that sort of shocked you about either HIV or yourself and your relationship to it, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's very different the way that we lived HIV, you know, like in the 80s and the 90s than the way that we perceive it now. But even if it's like something that has evolved enormously in terms of science and medicine, because they really found a way very quickly to get people with HIV to have like a normal life expectancy, I think you say. It's very strange how we didn't evolve at all on the way that we talk about it, and the taboo is still there in a very like absurd way that I can really not understand. And I thought that you know, like doing this, maybe I would find I don't know, like more like a way to talk about it in a more open way, but still it's really hard to talk about it, you know. And I think that the best way to talk about HIV and AIDS is when people who are living with it can actually say it, and say it in a very open way. And this is what I see that can really have an impact on the people that can realize that if you say I'm HIV positive and I have a normal life, people will still treat you normally, you know. So I think that what I discovered is that the change should start by this, and I think that it's super difficult, and I'm in a very kind of comfortable position because I didn't inherit HIV from my mom, so I could have, but I didn't. But I'm always very open also to talk about my story in a very clear way, because I think there's nothing wrong about living with HIV, you know. And it's just very strange. And so what I discovered also is that the young people don't know anything, and I think that this should change as well, because I grew up I'm from 1986. So I grew up in the 90s when like the way to inform about HIV was through fear, basically, so you have to be careful because you can die, So now we have to change the way of speaking about it. It's not through fear because it doesn't make any sense anymore. So yeah, I think I learned a lot. And I think it was very interesting when we did the casting for the actors, because all the young people who came also learned a lot. And the actors who made the film as well.
Because Abby, who works with us and we love, had the question of, did the actors like know about HIV and the background of the characters, or did they have to do some sort of study and talk to people, or how did they sort of, get their heads around a character that could be very difficult, very different than what they're used to? So
yeah, they didn't know much. They also learned a lot, and it was a very interesting day. So the way that I work with actors is that I try to build some kind of backstory, but actually doing it, So we experience, like, let's say there is this different love stories in the film, so we build them from the day that they met, and then the day that they kissed for the first time, so we kind of build all these backstories, so in the way that when we get to the shooting, they have like common memory, to put it somehow. So one of the things that we did was to go to get tested, and we went to this, to a place in Barcelona that you can get tested, and it's very easy. So they did it, but like being in the characters somehow. And all the actors told me like how nervous they were at this moment, even if they were not. But then they started talking, and they realized that they had like risky relationships more than once, and that's why they were so nervous. So then at the end, they realized that they should get tested more often, basically, so it was, they did learn a lot. And also about there are a lot of things that people don't know so much about, medicines that you can have. Like, there is a thing that you can have when you think that you had a risky relationship, that it's a kind of a treatment that would protect you to not get HIV after you had this relationship. So it's kind of I don't know how you call the pill, this pill that you have after, if you don't want to get pregnant the day after. So it's kind of this, but for HIV, and a lot of people have no idea about this, that they exist, So it was kind of learning for everyone who was in the film, actually.
Yeah. And more, so celebrities are starting to sort of say I'm HIV positive, and I think that's done out of to disconnect from the stigma. But how do you think that impacts sort of current day HIV? Because I think some people, may look at it very differently because the celebrities have it. Almost an off the cuff. How do you think about that?
No, I think it's super important. I think it's crucial, actually, that the celebrities say that if they are HIV positive, because it's the way to kind of encourage other people who are HIV positive to say it loud as well. So, and as I think, then this helps people, the other people who are not HIV positive, to kind of accept it as well as a normal thing, and to start like changing our perception about it. It's not a bad thing, basically. It's better if you don't get it, obviously, but the stigma is just, it doesn't make sense.
Well, it's great that people like you, as well as, are talking out about it and incorporating into the movies, and we appreciate that, because I think that's the only way it expands. It's, it was always seen as our community, and as other people realize that it's not just our community, that I think that, again, thank you so much. Azzan, moving to you, there's also been a celebrity, and I don't know how to quite phrase it, but there's been more trans noticeability through Laverne Cox and other sort of trans celebrities. And again, how has that sort of impacted, not you personally if you don't feel comfortable, but you know, the trans community, because I think they see, oh, they're accepted. You know, we've made it now. Look, we're on TV. But I know that's not the case. So how do you know? Is it mixed emotions? This, you know, sort of trans visibility.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll only speak for myself. But yeah, I think it for me it is a mixed bag because it's always great. Especially, I actually just watched Disclosure on Netflix, and I think it gave me a lot of insight into that. But coming from the kind of representation that is really bad for trans people, that just says that you know, we're either like crazy mass murderers or just like pretending or some, you know, lots of stereotypes that were created through media because a lot of people don't actually have that much interaction with trans folks. Yeah, so coming from that to more positive representation has been great. That I think on the flip side, with visibility can come more danger. I think that it can definitely, you know, at least for myself, put us in a position where people see something on TV that they don't like, they can't take it out on the character, so who do they pick? The closest trans person to them or something like that. And especially, you know, seeing that there's just like a very specific kind of violence that's happening against trans people right now, specifically Black trans women. So yeah, I think for me, it's a mixed bag. I love to see it. I think it helped give me language for myself, and really like the exposure to be able to identify, oh, like that's me. Like I totally get that. And also can be rough with people who just still want to tap into their own hatred or, you know, whatever.
How did you choose? Like there's so much style to the film. It's not just talking heads. It's, you know, when you're talking to people, you had that, I don't know what it's called, but the electronic wave, and, you know, when you're talking about your sister painting her nails, you know, it was photos of the sister. So how did you sort of make these artistic choices? And some of the scenery is beautiful. I think there's one, you're getting dressed, you're talking about your body, and it's just, you know, the way the film is it's just beautiful. So how did you choose to sort of incorporate this really powerful story with these beautiful visual, soft sort of, if you will, some of the images? And yeah, so I was fascinated.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think one of the ways that I made sense of myself was I have a very active, imaginative brain, and so I think one of the ways I make sense of myself is through like these kind of like analogies. So when I said it, like I equated it to like a funeral and all these other things, and I think with that I just kind of sat with it and was like, I didn't want it to be all talking heads. That bores me personally. So I was like, how can I manifest these feelings in visual form and communicate that to people? And I think it got across. But I just wanted to kind of take the feeling and put it in some kind of conceptual visual form. And that's kind of how I got there. Yeah.
And you did, so thank you. Well, one of the debates, this is sort of going away from the film and more like gay and lesbian film in general, and the debate is whether or not we need to exist gay and lesbian festivals. This is obviously not a gay and lesbian festival. We do, you know, certainly a lot of programming to that community, but you know, do you think there still needs to be GLBT festivals, or are we so sort of incorporated into general society that that's not necessarily necessary anymore?
I absolutely think there still needs to be LGBTQ festivals. Absolutely. I think as far as like just kind of festivals that incorporate everybody, we're getting there, but we're not there, and also I believe that like any kind of inclusive space or inclusive environment or inclusive world, really, you have the people that are together, but we also need those autonomous spaces to exist and to just be. So yes, absolutely.
I appreciate it. And, you know, we love being able to present everything to everybody, and we hope we have a curatorial eye, you know, specifically for that community, because I, being a member of that community as well as others, and so it's still important to me. And quite frankly, we can take a little more risk, I think, in our festival than many lesbian festivals do. So I appreciate that our audience is really willing to sort of, take the leap with us and see things that they might not think are typically, LGBTQ. Carla, have you found any different in, like, have you screened it at non-gay specific festivals and then gay specific festivals, and have you found any sort of difference in the acceptance of the film? And I don't mean that good or bad, but just like they sort of get it more than another audience, or?
Well, I honestly did have I'm not sure about festivals, but I had some experiences with the audience, with people thinking or asking, why does it have to be two men? No, because basically the main, there is a guy who is bisexual and is with the girl now, and he had a past relationship with a man who is with another man right now. No, so for us it was important to introduce the woman, because just to say that it also goes with us. But to me, it was a strange question because, well, it's not a strange, it's normal. But the thing is that the numbers clearly say that that it's usually the most cases, or the 85% of cases right now, is between men. So, and I think that it is like that. So why not to speak to the people who really have to be careful in this sense, no? So so to me it was a strange, but it was not an only once that happened. Like some other, like there is this association in Barcelona with HIV positive people who are mainly women, and they were not so happy with the short because of that. So I was really worried, because I was like, I can't, like, you can't, it's not, it's very difficult to do something that everyone feels like I don't know, part of it, no, and that it speaks to everyone. And I understand like all the questioning, but at the same time, we really also question ourselves when we were writing the script, and our conclusion was that if the 85% of the cases are between men, I think that it makes sense to have like the main story between men, and then we put the woman because it also affects us. But it's basically, yeah, I don't know. It just, I really understand, but it's hard to like to have everyone happy, I guess. In that sense.
Part of doing what you do and what you did, that's even that much more important, because you were trying to tell a story and making people happy. Sort of, that's great that you did it, but that I don't think was the point. The point was to sort of get some feathers ruffled and to sort of make people think about the reaction to the film and really get them to feel it. So
yeah, and that was the most important thing to us, to kind of play with the emotion, basically, no, and tell a story and the emotion of the story. I don't know if we lost you.
Oh, we're back.
Okay.
Either that or you were all perfectly still, just to freak me out. which I wouldn't put it past my, other staff members. But how is the another sort of general question of, I'm always curious as to this pandemic is certainly awful for everybody, but I found that some creative types have sort of found it not refreshing, but they've really sort of been able to focus and almost so narrow, focus that they've really sort of appreciated the fact that it's given them time and energy and the ability to sort of focus. I'd be interested to sort of know the two of you and how you've sort of, been dealing with this, because it's awful. Carla, do you want to start?
Who? Sorry? Okay. Yes, well, for me, it's been a bit hard, because I was supposed to shoot my second feature film this summer, and we had to postpone postpone it for next summer, and we were really ready. So we stopped in March, and we had closed the casting, and we were about to start the rehearsals, and it was this moment where like everyone was like starting to work in the film, and the creative energy was flowing, and then suddenly we had to stop. And at the beginning of the lockdown, I thought, well, we're gonna shoot anyways. It will be okay. But then the days pass, and we realized that if we wanted to make the film that was written, we had to wait, because it's a film that has to be shot in summer, because it's about a harvest, a peach harvest. And so it has to be summer. So this was a bit hard, but I also, like, in terms of writing and getting creative, I think it was a really good time, because you have no input, you have no FOMO of like people having fun, because nobody is having fun outside. So you can really focus, basically. And so I just started writing something else. And then at the end, I accept like a little project for HBO, which is just like a small episode of shooting a theater play for television. So that was nice. So like other things came up, and at the end, it was not what I was gonna do, but it ended up being something else, which is also good. But still, like, I hope it didn't happen. Like, this year is so strange.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I've heard a lot of those same stories, or people who haven't even written have started to write. I mean, I think most creative types have that ability to sort of, you know, go from one entity to another. I don't, but I appreciate the fact that, you know, people are sort of finding new ways to be their creative selves. What about you, Azzan?
Yeah, like same. Yeah, I started this script last year, and then I got wrapped up in life things. I was actually, when the pandemic hit, I was on a fellowship, and I was living in New York. And so the pandemic hit, and I was like, ooh, it's time to go back to North Carolina, because this place is teeming with it. I had to, yeah. So I ended up in the middle of the pandemic moving back to North Carolina, because my fellowship was ending anyway. But I started the script, and I just put it down because I just got caught up in life things. But yeah, so I've been able to really sit with that and continue writing, which has been really nice. Yeah, so I'll say same. I do also wish it didn't happen, because but yeah.
Miserable. It's awful. And the fact that we have to do this, I'm very happy that you both took the time to do this, but I'd rather you be next to me in the theater. And, you know, we always say it's, you know, it's happy and sad. We're happy that we still get to talk to you, and we're happy that we still get to present films, but it's sad because it's, you know, it's sort of a very unusual circumstances. And I know as filmmakers, part of your, you know, you're feeling the audiences, and you're not able to do that. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep filmmaking? Do you want to go to narrative filmmaking? Do you want to continue along documentary, just find great stories?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to break into narrative, thus the writing of the script, but I am always down to make a documentary too at any point. So yeah, I would, you know, and it really just depends on if I run into a story I'm like, this person is really interesting and really fascinating, and I want to make a film. So making short docs it's not easy, but it is, you know, you can do it relatively in a good timeline. So yeah, breaking into narrative, but love documentaries, so always down to make one.
Well, we're definitely rooting for you, whatever you do. And Carla, I know you mentioned a couple things that you sort of had going. You're working on your next feature, and you're writing. You still want to sort of continue to make film?
Yeah, I think so. If it works, yes, I think that to me it makes sense in my life to put it somehow. It just because I also always try to portray things that are really close to me, about my family and my friends and my village. So it's like I kind of, I don't know, my life and film like go side by side, you know, so it's just a way of being here. So that and what makes sense to me. So which is really interesting, the fact that we are living this now, because sometimes when we had to postpone the shooting, I was like, well, it's just a film. No, because we give so much importance to it. It's like it's our life, and it's just a film. We are not saving lives. No, and it really makes you think if it makes sense, no? But as it makes sense to me, I think that when you make things that make sense to you, at the end you find some people that for whom it makes sense too. So that's the idea.
Bravo. And you talked about not saving lives, but you know, your film has the power to do that by what it says and what it portrays. And I think the same thing with Azzan, who's, you know, taking a really powerful subject and a powerful story and saying, look at me, and you know, I am where I am, and hopefully others who see the story, the trans child, you know, can take something from it. So, you know, don't minimize what you do. I understand what you're saying, but don't minimize the work you do. I'm
No.
really, I'm really profoundly touched by both of your work. So that's about all I have. Thank you very, very much for spending the time with us and taking the time. I think the misconception is that nobody's doing anything during this time. And I know that even, you know, taking the time to spend with us has been wonderful. So Carla with
Thank you.
someone else, and Azzan with Translucent. The other films in the program were Blackness by Diego Paulina, Dirty with Matthew Pacini, Child of the Land, Kimmy Howell Lee, My Mother Resents Me, Victoria Linares Villegas, Peach by Sophie Seville, Rowan Devereaux, and The Fabric of Youth, Josephine Lahore Self. They're all great films, as well as all of the other LGBTQ films we have in the festival. So thank you again for joining us. Peter, you're going to close us out?
I would just like to thank you, Joe, for being an amazing moderator. And thank you, filmmakers, for being here. We so appreciate that and sharing everything about your films. And thank you all for Zooming in. Take care.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.